You've mentioned some of them already, but what are some more simple daily micro practices that the listeners can use to really strengthen this empathetic listening?
Yeah, I think there's things we can do. First of all, the awareness, so practicing with these low risk conversations, like you mentioned, I think that's a really great way that everyone can improve their communication as a listener,
Mm,
engaging someone in a conversation. And if
mm,
it is with the coffee shop clerk or whoever, you're still practicing those same skills, but there's less at stake, let's say. So that's one way. But one thing I would say is to look for patterns in our responses. So if we can observe a pattern, then we can decide: do we want to continue with that behavior, or do we want to generate something more desirable? Another way of doing that, an alternative that's more would better show that empathy. So identifying them and deciding what might be a better alternative, and then working towards enacting that alternative behavior. So
what's
this
an
will go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to just say, what's an example of a pattern someone might see in their communication?
So one example might be when someone immediately responds, right?
So
It's almost
noticing.
like a tennis match. A person speaks and then the listener responds. So immediate that there's not even any reflection. It's
Mhm.
because they're formulating a response while the other person is speaking. And we're doing that. We're missing some of the message. When we're formulating our response, we might miss words that are being said. We might miss facial expressions from the listener. We might miss their body language. So we're missing cues that would enable us to take in the full message. So when we're when we're not doing that, when we're just listening actively and we're inquiring and summarizing and reflecting back to them, we're not thinking about our response. We're just taking it in. So then after they're finished speaking, that's when we can think about it, even say, give me a moment, or, take a few seconds before you actually respond. So that's one example. I feel like that's probably very common. People think they have to be ready to answer right away. And sometimes that results in a pat answer, right? It's not really a thoughtful answer. So we want to come back with something thoughtful that reflects
Mm,
our interest in what they've said. So that would
mm,
be one. Observing our body language. This is something we can do, but we can also observe other people's body language and try to make inferences, because it's very challenging, because often the body language doesn't match, the message. And so we can infer a number of different intentions, and none of which are really what the person intends to show, but they're not paying attention, let's say, to their body language, so they're giving mixed messages. So by observing others, we can start to reflect, oh, am I doing that, or is that something I do on a regular basis? So observing other conversations is helpful. um,
mm,
and then just the idea of behavior change, picking a solution, picking a behavior that you want to change, and substituting alternatives. If you write those down on a sticky note or something, on two sides of a paper: here's what I want to replace this behavior with, these others instead. If you start to internalize this by seeing it on a regular basis, it's a reminder that you want to practice, and it becomes, uh, after a while, and I'm talking weeks, 3, 4 weeks before something starts to become a habit, uh,
mm,
then we can, kind of fall back on that new alternative instead of the bad habit that we were replacing. So that's something we can do. I really believe in those visuals, whether you put it on a sticky note or you put it on your screensaver, or someplace you're going to see this reminder
mhm.
on a regular basis, to just kind of reinforce that message to yourself.